Welcome to Middle Age Can Be Your Best Age, the show designed to help make middle age your prime time of life by defying the notion that once you reach 40, 50, or even 60 years old, your crowning achievements are all behind you. Regardless of whether you're just approaching 40 or firmly entrenched in your middle years, it's time to launch your very own personal journey toward a joyful and purpose-filled second half of life. Each week, host Roy Richards, an expert on midlife renewal and author of A Midlife Challenge, Wake Up, will discuss the challenges common to middle age and help guide you to a brighter tomorrow. Now, here's Roy.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of Middle Age Can Be Your Best Age. And I'd like to begin today's program by asking you two questions. One, if your life today is less joyful than you'd like it to be, would you like it to tap into the essential elements of lifelong happiness? And second, like most of us, do you enjoy eating chocolate, maybe as part of your favorite candy bar, or perhaps those delectable assorted individual pieces that come in those fancy high-end boxes? And if you answered yes to both of these questions, you're definitely in the right place, because today's first guest, Diane Gehart, Ph.D., has just released a brand new book titled Mindfulness for Chocolate Lovers, a lighthearted way to stress less and savor more each day. And like most of us, you undoubtedly are aware of the positive effect of mindfulness. Experts tell us it's very positive in reducing stress and solving emotional issues, becoming happy, and even physical challenges. But the problem is that although mindfulness would help most of us lack the understanding, discipline, innovation, or motivation, and willingness to follow through with the mindful meditation practice. And that's where Dr. Gehart comes in. In her book, she describes surprisingly efficient and fun ways to reduce stress and anxiety and to increase your daily dose of joy. In effect, she's here to describe how you can live a sweeter life. And here are Diane Gehart's qualifications. She's an award-winning professor of counseling and family therapy at California State University, Northridge. She maintains an active psychotherapy practice in the greater LA area, working with adults, couples, and families to find effective and meaningful ways to deal with their greatest life challenges while they have some fun along the way. And she's, in addition to her new book, Mindfulness for Chocolate Lovers, she's author of numerous prior books written for fellow professionals in family therapy. And hello, Dr. Gehart, we're indeed honored to have you with us here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Well, let's begin with the term mindfulness. Can you give us a layperson's definition of what it means to be mindful? What does rapidly growing research show about the benefits of mindfulness for our stressed out, overstimulated society?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of, I think, misconceptions about mindfulness. But in essence, mindfulness is about bringing, and it's consciously choosing to have your mind focus on some single thing in the present moment. The most common way we see mindfulness is focusing on your breath, and while trying to quiet your inner thoughts. And most people, when they hear that last part, they think, oh, so I shouldn't be thinking. And so they try to practice, and then they realize, well, their mind keeps wandering. And the truth is, unless you're dead or in a coma, yeah, your mind is going to wander, and then you just refocus it back. And it doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Most people's mind will wander, especially when you first start, more than they're focused, and that's okay. So in this practice of consciously trying to focus your mind on a single thing in the present moment without judging it and while being compassionate with yourself, does have just impressive research around how it can help us with a broad spectrum of both physical and mental health issues. And essentially any physical or mental health issue that's exacerbated by stress gets better with mindfulness.
Oh, that's great. Well, just about anyone on this planet will tell you that they want to be happy, but what are some of the popular myths that have folks looking for happiness in all the wrong places? I know you identify about 5 of those in your book.
Yes, I do. And we have a lot of them out there. The first one, and I think one of the most popular one in the United States at least, is that more money is going to lead to greater happiness.
That's
and
what all
so
the
many
television ads tell us.
That's right. And so many of us have this fantasy, if we just win the lottery, we'll be happy. And the truth is that is actually not likely to make you happy in the long term, but for about 3 months. And so they've actually researched this, and there's actually numbers here. Once you hit about 100,000 per year, your happiness peaks. And once you start making over $250,000 per year, your happiness actually starts to decline. And there's a measurable dip in happiness for those who are most wealthy. Isn't that surprising?
Yeah, it is.
And then another common myth we have is that more pleasurable experiences are going to bring us happiness. And so this is related to the concept of the hedonistic treadmill, but this is like, having more vacations, great food, beautiful clothes, great sex. We think all these things that are very pleasurable are going to bring us happiness, but what it does is put you on the hedonistic treadmill. And the best way to illustrate this is I give my kids ice cream every single night. After 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to need whipped cream and nuts, and then after another 3 weeks, they're going to need cherry. Then you got to add a cookie for it to be special. Because if you have something that's pleasurable all the time, the brain acclimates to it, and it just becomes background noise. And so that's another common one. And the other thing is just fulfilling your dreams. We all think, once you get married, have a baby, get the promotion, you have the dream vacation or the dream car, whatever your dream is. And
if
yes,
all of your dreams are fulfilled, life would be pretty boring if you don't have
that's
something
exactly
new to look forward to.
That's exactly it. It does give you a boost in happiness for about 3 months, and then your happiness goes back down to normal. So most of us, we're surrounded in this and in our contemporary society, and we either even often unconsciously are you still using these myths to guide us to happiness, and we find, well, lo and behold, it's not working.
Yeah. Now, this is interesting. You say negative emotions reduce happiness. That's a myth.
Yeah, I know. I mean, most of us try not to get angry or be sad, and we think if we're not angry or sad, that we'll be happier. And the research is really fascinating. There is a gender difference here. Is that the happiness is really correlated with having multiple in the moment positive emotions on an average day. So enjoying a beautiful sunset, enjoying a good meal, enjoying a good conversation, having many of those. Whether or not you have anger and frustration in between is less relevant. And in general, women have more positive and more negative emotions than men. So and then another one is that, if I'm just healthy, as my grandmother's, both of their favorite, sayings, as long as you have your health. And ironically, you have to have 5 major health issues to actually have your happiness dip. And even people who are dealing with cancer, their happiness level doesn't really dip unless there are multiple other things going on.
Yeah, I guess being healthy, you just sort of assume that's a natural way to be, and it doesn't really make you all that happy unless you come out of some serious health problem. I'm surprised about that. You need 5 of them, but
I know.
If I recovered from cancer, which I did years back, I was much more happy over that than I had been before I got it. So there's something to do with that. But well, let's talk about your brand new book, Mindfulness for Chocolate Lovers. What is your book designed to teach readers?
My book is designed to teach readers simple ways to increase their daily dose of happiness. And as you mentioned at the beginning of the show, I mean, most people know that they, should be practicing mindfulness. It would probably help their stress, mental health, and physical stress. But it's really hard to do that. I've been a psychotherapist for over 25 years, and, asking someone to even meditate for 5 minutes a day is truly a shift in lifestyle. And so I'm really a proponent of doing small incremental changes that really fit for the person that they're going to, make shifts that they can keep going long term. Yeah. And so, and I really try to also present, we have so much information, so much research on what makes us happy, and so educating people about that in a straightforward, down to earth, anyone can understand, kind of like we just discussed those 5 myths, and getting information I think everyone should have, since we have such a such a robust research base, as well as ancient, philosophy like Buddhist psychology telling us the exact same thing.
Yeah. Well, not to concentrate on the negative, but what are some of the most common pitfalls and challenges on the path to long-term happiness, and how best can we avoid them or at least survive the pitfalls?
Well, I think a lot of the pitfalls are falling for those myths, and I think it all kind of boils down to this idea that something in the external world has to happen in order for me to be happy.
Yeah, that's such a good...
Or something can't happen in the external world for us to be happy.
Yeah.
And
I know you talk about, and as a sort of related, you talk about ordinary versus extraordinary happiness, and the ordinary happiness is based mostly on something happening externally, and it's not lasting, whereas the extraordinary happiness is the built-in happiness that doesn't go away just because circumstances change.
Absolutely, and it's looking at happiness as not just an emotion that gets elicited when something good happens, but it is a life skill. It is a habit you actually develop in terms of how you encounter, the good in your life as well as the bad in your life and the problems in your life and how your attitude.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, in your book, you offer instruction on chocolate meditation for beginners. Will you quickly run through the practice? What are the steps to chocolate meditation? I'd never heard of such a thing.
Absolutely. And chocolate meditation is based on a classic mindfulness exercise where you mindfully eat. It's called mindful eating because when you eat, there are physical sensations, sight, smell, taste, texture that you can use to focus on in the present moment while quieting your mind. And most meditation teachers use a raisin, which is a fairly neutral object. And I started teaching mindfulness almost, 20 years ago.
Better.
I know. Well, I was traveling all over the place doing, speaking and doing workshops, and I would lug these, boxes of small raisins in my suitcase, and they'd get crushed when I arrived. So I said, what can I bring instead? And I am a chocolate lover. And I started using the chocolate, and because most of us do have either a strong or some emotions around chocolate, we really like it. We don't. There are a lot of, it's a sinful thing for some people. It's an indulgence, a special treat. There's childhood memories.
Worry about the calories too.
That's right. So we have so many more emotions around chocolate, positive and negative, that it's you actually get a lot. It sounds like a joke at first, but there's a lot to it. And so what it basically involves is you get a piece of chocolate. I always like to use a wrapped chocolate because then we can do a meditation where you hit all five senses. And you begin by just observing it, putting it in your hand, observing it wrapped, and trying to really approach it from a beginner's mind, just noticing the colors, how the light reflects off of it, smelling, feeling the texture. You listen to it as you unwrap, and then you do it again, noticing the colors, texture, scent, and how it may be similar or different. And one of the most important parts is I then have you move the chocolate up to your lips, but don't bite, and just watch what goes through your mind. So frustration, anticipation, dread. If you don't like chocolate, you're dreading it. But all these thoughts will go through your mind, and it gives you an opportunity to watch that. And that ability to observe your mind in action, it's going to help as you strengthen that ability. I recommend practicing it daily, but as you strengthen this ability, you can watch your mind in action around problems, in the real world outside of chocolate meditation.
But
you develop that ability.
It's like a much more interesting exercise than just concentrating on your breath.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And the other part then is, especially as you eat it, for a lot of people, they get so much benefit out of. The instructions are to not judge this chocolate taste as good or bad, but just notice its qualities and suspend judgment. And that's really hard for most people to do, even for 10 seconds. But people find that, especially those two parts, watching the mind in action, suspending your judgment of something being good or bad, and just experiencing it, becomes very easy to translate to the outside world. The other thing I love about chocolate meditation, it's very hard. I think one of the hardest things is even to remember to meditate when you're trying to develop a practice. But with chocolate meditation, get a pretty bowl, put a bowl of chocolates on your desk, and every day, at coffee or lunch break or whatever, do your, 2-3 minutes of chocolate meditation, and it does make a difference.
Do a lot of your clients gain a lot of weight?
When, you know what people find? They actually find it. They use mindful eating with people with eating disorders, including overeating, because when you eat something mindfully, so many people say, "Oh my God, I normally can eat 10 of these mindlessly, but I just had one slowly, and I'm totally satisfied."
Yeah,
I don't
when
eat
you're
anymore.
eating to overcome a bad emotion or something and not mindful of it, just snacking while you're watching TV or something.
Yep.
That's not mindful eating, and that's what
So
causes
actually,
the problem.
it can actually help you lose weight if you do it, correctly. If your problem has been mindlessly overeating, the chocolate meditation will actually help you, reduce that tendency to overeat.
Yeah.
Well, so that's fun.
Well,
I know.
In order to become happy, you tell us to befriend our problems. What in the heck do you mean by befriending a problem?
I know, it's kind of a strange term. But what I mean by that, and most Western philosophers as well as Eastern, traditions, they all, at the root of every kind of psychological, contemporary theory we have, is that the reason we develop psychological symptoms like depression or anxiety is because in some way we are trying to reject or deny a reality that is out there. I'm feeling distance from my partner, my kids aren't achieving the way I want to, I'm not getting the promotion I want. So our mind goes through these kind of mental gymnastics to try to deny that reality, twist it so we can't, and so we don't emotionally feel that the emotions of disappointment, anger, hurt. And so the concept of befriending is allowing yourself to feel those difficult emotions. And most of us avoid it. That's kind of natural. But it's just kind of being vulnerable, letting yourself experience it. Yeah. And once you get practice with this, you realize it really shifts everything when you can just accept it. It only lasts for a certain amount of time, and then you're able to more consciously respond, make better choices, because you're seeing things clearly. You're accepting that reality and figuring out good ways to deal with it.
And then you can come up with solutions once you really understand the problem and that it isn't. You don't have to worry about what might happen.
Yeah, and two of the places I commonly see befriending problems really being an issue is if you are unhappy in your marriage and you try to pretend like you're not. You can. I know hundreds of people. I have worked with hundreds of clients who spent decades pretending. But that results in depression, anxiety, stress, all these other things, or being in a job where you're unhappy, but you're pretending like you're not. So you can spend decades, developing a lot of mental health issues because you want to deny that reality. And it feels like, oh my God, if I accept that the marriage might be in trouble, or I really don't like this job, that catastrophe is going to happen. That's not the case. But what's strange is once you accept it, it is amazing how many more possibilities for addressing the problem actually come to mind and seem realistic to you.
Well, here's another term in your book that is very interesting. Crazy wisdom, which you say is the back door to happiness, with mindfulness is the front door. What is this crazy wisdom, and how best do we employ it?
Well, crazy wisdom is a term that comes from Buddhist psychology, and it has certainly transitioned into a lot of Western practices as well. But, when we describe mindfulness, it's kind of logical. It makes sense how that would help you, reduce your stress. We can describe it, measure it. But crazy wisdom is about playing with opposites and logic to kind of cut through those assumptions that have us stuck in life. And it really opens us up to new ways of looking at things and kind of freeing us from the patterns. But it's about using humor to kind of reframe the situation, to think of things differently. Often we take ourselves way too seriously.
Yeah,
and if you can step back and laugh at some of it, not all humor is therapeutic. If you're making fun of somebody else, putting them down, you're even putting down yourself is not as therapeutic. But the crazy wisdom humor is about kind of cutting through some of our just assumptions that keep us stuck.
Yeah. Well, I won't go into this. You talk about snakes that can get in your path. I guess those are relationships or people that cause problems, and I thought that was fascinating. We don't really have time to talk about it, but the overgiving that dazzles you with helpfulness and generosity in the beginning, and they're too good to be true. Absolute charm. I love these. And then the drama king or queen. I've known a few of those in my time.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, at the end of Chapter 7, you make a statement that seems strange to me. You say, fierce compassion is the key that unlocks the door to extraordinary happiness. What in the heck is fierce compassion, and how can anything fierce lead to lasting happiness?
Well, fierce compassion is, again, a term I borrowed from Buddhist psychology, where in Buddhism they actually try to teach compassion in a very concrete manner. So, and one of the things that they talk about is that when you're compassionate to somebody that you love or care for or are friends with, that's not really compassion in their definition, because it's just a good business transaction. You're nice to me and I'm nice back. We're buds, you know? Yeah. But they talk about where you really learn compassion in that kind of, in a more spiritual sense, is when you learn to have compassion for someone who has hurt you.
Yeah, that's very tough to do, but...
Yes, and when you can learn to have compassion for even those people who have hurt you, you develop a type of acceptance of what humanity is, how we interact with each other. Even those we love, we step on each other's toes, we hurt each other. And sometimes it's not intentional, and sometimes if we feel vulnerable, we strike out, and there's a bit of intention there. Yeah. And so the fierce compassion is being able to, even after you get hurt, to have enough courage, really, to open your heart back up again. It doesn't mean putting yourself in the line of fire again. Yeah. It means being, it doesn't mean you don't get to protect yourself again, but it means to not dehumanize the other. And that
Too bad more of our politicians these days don't have fierce compassion for the other side.
Well, yes, I agree. If both sides could develop a little more fierce compassion for the other, I think things would be in a better place. And that's just, never allowing, because once we dehumanize someone else, we are very likely to take very inhumane action and become dehumanized ourselves. Yeah, and that is why they see it as so critical to happiness, is that ability to still keep your heart open. Doesn't mean you're a fool again. Doesn't mean you put yourself in the line of fire again. Yeah. But it means you don't stop seeing the humanity in the other, because as soon as you do that, you lose your own.
Well, where's the best place for our listeners to go to preview and purchase your new book, Mindfulness for Chocolate Lovers?
Well, the book is available pretty much wherever books are sold. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, the publishers, Rowman and Littlefield. I have a website that goes with the book, which is mindfulnessforchocolatelovers.com, and you can also get links there, and all their free meditations, all the worksheets in the book are there. So there are a lot of free resources that go with the book for anyone who's interested.
Okay, that sounds great. And they want to learn more about you and your practice. You also have a website, DianeGehart.com, I noticed.
Absolutely. And the last name is spelled Gehart. So
yes,
and I have I have a lot of resources too, just about general mental health topics on that website, like depression and anxiety.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'd like to conclude this section with words of praise taken from the book summary on Amazon. Amazon states that an accomplished and honored professor, psychotherapist, author, and chocolate connoisseur, Diane Gehart, identifies surprisingly efficient and fun ways to increase your daily dose of joy, and she'll teach you step by step how to identify the essential elements necessary for long-term happiness and add them to your everyday habits, and develop an unshakable sense of joy that sustains you in good times and bad, and engage your most painful life circumstances to dramatically improve your life. I love that one. And navigate common pitfalls and challenges, and transform how you journey through life, making it a joyride regardless of stormy weather or unfortunate, unforeseen circumstances. And once again, the book title is Mindfulness for Chocolate Lovers, a lighthearted way to stress less and savor more each day, by Diane R. Gehart, Ph.D. And thanks a million, Diane, for taking your time with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And best of success in your book and all that you do. And now, if you excuse me, I have a genuine craving to dig into that box of chocolates up in the kitchen. So bye for now.
Just do it mindfully. Just do it mindfully.
I'll do that. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was a most enlightening interview with Dr. Diane Gehart, wasn't it? I know it really helped me. I very much understand the value of mindfulness meditation, but so often when I try it, I have difficulty clearing my mind of all the extraneous thoughts that keep butting in. And Dr. Gehart offers some simple, realistic solutions, like concentrating on a piece of chocolate. And now that's mindful eating of chocolate, by the way, not a compulsive pig out. And I'm certain you'll want to preview and perhaps purchase Diane's great new book, Mindfulness for Chocolate Lovers. And on my October 21st program, I spoke about responses you can make to fight hidden age discrimination during a job interview, sometimes not so hidden. And remember, you can go back and listen to prior episodes through our program website anytime at your convenience. But today I'm going to expand on the subject and talk about some common mistakes that older job seekers often make. And please note, I'm not just talking about job seekers in their late 50s or 60s. I'm also talking to you 40-something men and women who may be competing against job seekers in their late 20s or early 30s, certainly not unusual in today's job market, especially for tech-oriented jobs. And let me give credit where credit is due. Most of my thoughts are taken from an article by Kate Lopez of thejobnetwork.com that appeared recently in our local Sunday newspaper. First, let me say I hope you never find the need to job search, but let's face it, you don't want to remain in that dead-end job that you detest for the rest of your working years. And also, with today's lightning pace of technological innovation, your present job may be here today, gone tomorrow, through absolutely no fault of your own. So let's start a discussion with the obvious. Hitting the open job market can be tough if you're over 40. I've been there and done that, and after a whole year of looking, I ended up with a job far less lucrative and challenging than my prior executive position, and I didn't remain in that job very long. So let's begin with the obvious. You aren't looking for an entry-level or low-level position with a salary geared toward new grads who live with their parents or with 7 roommates. You can't change what's out there, but you can self-correct several errors that may be preventing you from getting a job offer. And mistake number 1 is not promoting yourself and building a professional presence on social media, and I'm talking about media like LinkedIn or perhaps Twitter. This professional presence is second nature for your younger competitors, and we all know that personal accounts like Facebook are better left private, and you're a commentator on that. And but that shouldn't keep you from publishing and promoting a successful or a separate professional profile on LinkedIn, and broadcast your professional profile and accomplishments while keeping details of your personal life private. And here's mistake number 2, holding on and broadcasting outdated tech. Your contact info typically is the first thing a person hiring looks at when they review your resume. So don't kick your resume off with an outdated AOL.com or Hotmail address that is 10 years or more out of date. Fair or not, this outdated address makes it look like you're not really up on the current state of things, and it could color how they read the rest of your resume, and not for the better. And here's mistake number 3. This is probably the most crucial of all, not leveraging your network. As an experienced job seeker and accomplished professional, you have a whole network of former colleagues, clients, and acquaintances in your field of expertise. And I'll bet that 90% or more of them would be more than happy to assist you in your job search if you ask them. Whatever you do, don't be afraid to make contact and reconnect with these former associates. See if they have information on who may be hiring, even leads. You never know who might be able to put you in touch with the right person until you ask them. My wife one time talked to a fellow at a gas station, and it turned out he was a CEO of a new company that was looking for a person just about like me and to be chief financial officer. Unfortunately, they couldn't pay what I needed, but it was a great lead anyway. And here's mistake number 4, writing a kitchen sink resume and then sending it out to everyone. Not every bit of experience should go into every resume. As best you can, target each resume sent out or posted to the specific job you seek and the nature of the employer. Recruiters and hiring managers usually have limited time to scan resumes. We're talking seconds here, so you will need to tell your story effectively in a highly limited space. And if you're 45, the hiring manager won't be particularly interested in the work you performed right out of school at age 23. Your resume should be no longer than 2 pages and concentrate just on the last 10 years or so. Because resumes these days are submitted and handled almost exclusively digitally, and tailor each one you send out to the particular job you're applying for. How does your experience, qualifications, and accomplishments relate specifically to the position they are seeking to fill? Why are you that one special person they're listening for or searching for? And here's mistake number 5, not taking job descriptions or taking job descriptions literally. I should say taking them too literally, not taking them. How often have you read a highly promising job description but then realized I don't have 2 or 3 of the 10 listed requirements, so I won't even bother to apply? Wrong. If you like the sound of the job and believe you could excel in it and be happy in it, apply. Job descriptions also are an employer's wish list for the ideal candidate. In fact, they may be flexible on certain aspects of experience level or on parts of the job itself. No, don't waste your time and the employers by applying for positions where you're clearly not qualified, but you have nothing to lose by applying if you feel you're otherwise a good fit, especially if you know you're a fast learner and can convey that both in your resume and later in an in-person interview. Just be certain that your resume reflects why overall you are a great fit for the job in hand. And here's mistake number 6, waiting for the perfect job. And in my job search years ago, that was one of my biggest mistakes. I'd been CFO of a failing insurance company and was hesitant to go after a lower financial job in another company. Also, my family wanted to remain in Southern California. We loved the weather and most everything else about it. And of course, as someone who's put in a lot of time, care, and learning to your career and your professional skills, you deserve the next job that works for your personal and professional goals. But, and this is true at any age, the perfect job may never come around. It doesn't tend to, does it? So be open to other positions, especially in high potential employers that aren't moving up the next seniority level immediately and may pay practically the same as you're making now or even less than you're making if they have everything else you want. The issues are these. Do you really honestly believe you would relish going to work each weekday morning and perform the tasks advertised in the job listing? Can you foresee the opportunity of early and steady progression up the corporate ladder? If this is a startup or an early stage company, do they offer a partial ownership interest that could lead to a big payout later? And even should the startup fail, would the advertised position provide a wide range of new experience that would make you highly marketable over your next job search? Bottom line, if the potential job sounds like a decent fit for your skills and experience, and you like the employer's mission, the workday atmosphere, and the colleagues you will be working with and for, give that job a serious second look. Also, if the job requires relocation, Is your new city of residence acceptable for the whole family? Being flexible and keeping an open mind are key aspects to any job search, especially at middle age. So if you're age 46 or 52, obviously you consider yourself a highly prized veteran, but remain acutely aware of the image you're putting out there. And beyond all else, whatever your background, keep the current version of yourself updated and engaged above all else. Keep your network active and don't be too shy to ask for help. Those you ask will want to provide it. And in closing, one more thing. Are you certain you have in mind a clear picture of the ideal position you're searching for, your dream position? It is possible to thoroughly enjoy what you do to earn a living. It doesn't have to be fun only on the weekends and in the evening. You need a vision you can hold up for comparison with any real job opportunity that comes along. And in my book, A Midlife Challenge, Wake Up, by Roy C. Richards, I have a whole chapter on taking a mental vacation and a comprehensive exercise on how to define your ideal position. No matter how hectic your life and no matter how much financial pressure you may be under to find a new job, this mental vacation exercise is well worth your time and energy. Otherwise, your career may consist of bouncing from one non-fulfilling job to another until you die or retire unfulfilled. And you can preview and purchase a copy of my book, printed or ebook form, at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or through our website, MiddleAgeRenewal.com. And whether you're searching for a new job out of desire or necessity, best of success in finding that one job and lifestyle right for you and every member of your household. Bye for now. Please tune in again next for our next episode of Middle Age Can Be Your Best Age, when my guests will talk about finding peace one piece at a time. Bye for now.
You've been listening to Middle Age Can Be Your Best Age, hosted by Roy Richards, an expert on midlife renewal and author of both A Midlife Challenge, Wake Up, and Wake Up, Captain and Crew, Restart Your Engines. You can learn more about Roy and his Middle Age Renewal Training System by visiting his website, middleagerenewal.com.